Booyah, and it's time for the Game Sports Podcast. It's your host, David McCaig Jr. Here on the Game Sports Podcast, we're powered by 91 Network, featured on Spaces, which is through Village Media and, of course, Sue Today. We're kicking off the show with Top Shelf. We got 3 segments planned for you here tonight, and it's going to be action-packed as always. I am joined first by the one, the only Alex Parr. Alex, saying hi to you first, my friend. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. It's good to see you. It's good to see everybody on the other side of the camera as well. I'm ready to get into this.
Absolutely. It's always fun chatting hockey. And also going to the GTA region with a nice fancy plasma behind him if you're looking from the video perspective. Brendan McCarthy, I'm going to start giving you a nickname. Let's start calling you the Cart. I don't know why. I just thought of it top of my head. It's probably Carthy, Cart. I don't know. I just made up something.
The Cart.
The Cart. Jokes aside.
All right.
How you doing, my friend?
Just on the move, I guess? Like a go-kart?
Oh, I like that. Okay.
I don't know.
Now I'm thinking Mario Kart. Like, no, I don't want to get too off topic and show my true side of getting distracted. But, my friend, how you doing?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic, boys. What's your roll up the rim record right now?
Mine is 1 for 13 or something like that.
Wow.
Even on the digital, yeah, I'm low. I'm batting a low average.
0 for 1. That's it.
So here is the move. Quick little hack for the Canadians out there. Tried it today, and he was a little bit rattled, but ultimately didn't give it to me. But I think it could work in the future. Instead of getting a sleeve for your cup, say, do you mind just quickly just give me another cup, double cup this because it's too hot. And if they're on the fly, on the move, they're like, yeah, whatever. Then you got 2 chances at it. Now, he did give me just a regular Tim's, so I think he was a little rattled. But I was like, oh, do you mind just almost had it, but I think it clicked for him. But I feel like if it's busy and on the fly, it's like, yeah, no problem. And it's like, oh, geez, I just gave away a second cup.
And if you have points, you actually get digital roll-ups too. Just so you know, if you have the
I'll never do that. You gotta have the OG, like use the teeth, use the the thumb and index finger. Come on,
get in there.
Dave,
none of this app roll up the rim, digital roll up the rim. Screw that.
Dave, you look like a guy with dainty hands. I'm sure if you asked, they would buy it for sure. So I'm sure they would definitely give you 2.
100%. And I feel like if I just,
kind of guy.
I'd be like, hey, help a guy out. The sleeve is not enough. I need to keep my fingers protected here. Like it's just the delivery of that. Maybe a little words in Italian with using the hands. We'll see. Fellas, we got a segment for you. We got a segment to get into, And, of course, if you're tuning into from a video, audio perspective, wherever you tune in, like, follow, subscribe, social media at the Game Sports Podcast, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, Amazon. I could sit here until the whole 20-minute mark and get through everything where we are and all the reaction, but not enough time for that. To search us, you will find us. Now, we're going to go into first kind of, I'll call this like around the horn, and not calling it that because that is, but we're going to go around the horn on this segment. And I'm going to start with trade deadline grades. Okay. I know it's a little bit past the deadline, but we obviously haven't had a segment together since the deadline has passed when it passed last week. And we've got to see a few of the acquisitions that were put into play. If you're a Leaf fan, you saw Lawton and Carlo. If you're a Florida fan, you saw Jones jump in. If you're an Ottawa fan, you saw Cousins play. So you saw a lot of movement at the deadline, lots of good moves, some surprising moves, especially if you're Pittsburgh acquiring Luke Shen and Novak and getting rid of Bunting. Obviously there's some trades that caught by surprise. So I'm going to put you guys on kind of right on the spot at first, Alex, kind of giving a random grade to 1 or 2 or 3, how many teams you want to give a grade to. I'm not going to follow, let's go down the list. Give your reaction about the deadline that maybe stood out to you.
I think the team that did the best for what they need, they're going to get an A from me. A for Colorado Avalanche.
Oh, I had them too, Parr.
I think bolstering that center position for them in both Charlie Coyle and Brock Nelson's huge. I mean, I didn't know Coyle was available, but we all knew Nelson was a big talk going into trade deadline. So I think bolstering the center depth for them is going to help a ton. And I think a little underratedly, bringing in Eric Johnson just for maybe that spark in the room. Sure, he's your 7th defenseman. He probably won't play a ton, but a guy that knows the organization, they know him, the fans like him. I'm pretty sure he was on that team when they won the cup as well. I think that's an underrated move for the locker room. So I'm going to give a big old stamp of approval to the Colorado Avalanche for their trade deadline moves.
Good. Now, that's a good answer. Who do you think didn't do good then? I'll give you a Parr. Who do you think didn't do good? Who didn't do a good job?
I don't know why the Ottawa Senators made the trades that they did. I don't know if I would give up future anything if I'm the Senators. Maybe like some low stuff just to bolster the roster a little bit, just to say, hey, we noticed you guys have had a half decent season. Here's a couple moves, but I don't know. Second round picks out the door, top prospects out the door. I don't know. And Norris, I think, is the best player in that trade with Dylan Cousins.
Ooh,
I know
Norris fan.
Yeah, I think he is the better player. He just can't stay healthy where Cousins has more games that he's able to play. I'm just an Ottawa hater probably, and that's just probably my Leafs bias, but I don't know if I'm them, a team that's just teetering on making the playoffs with a roster that might not be able to repeat it next year, if I'm going to be the guy giving up futures and high-end futures just to give them a little push for maybe just 1 year.
Good answers. Cart, I'll go to you.
I was almost like, sorry, who? Do we have another guy on here? Hart? I got to get used to that, Davey. So I'll do my West. I did like Colorado. I mean, Dallas, they're such a threat in the playoffs. Adding Mikko Rantanen and signing him for a term is massive. Mm-hmm. They'll be a serious problem in the playoffs this year. And having Mikko Rantanen, who's just an absolute dog. We've seen what he's done in his past seasons with the Colorado Avalanche. So I would give them an A+. And then in the East, I actually don't mind what the Sens did. Yes, as Parr alluded to, like they did give up a lot. Dylan Cousins, though, like he was itching to get out of Buffalo. He seems elated to be in Ottawa. Has a smile ear to ear every time I've seen him on camera since coming to the nation's capital. And he just looks dog determined to be there. And yeah, I know they gave up Norris and Bernard Docker, but for the first time since 2017, the Sens can happily say, hey, we're buyers. We're a playoff team. So you've got to kind of make those decisions. And I'd also say that the Florida Panthers, I mean, getting Brad Marchand, I mean, they always had to go up against the Rat. Now they got a Rat with Matthew Tkachuk and Sam Bennett. If you put all those guys on the line, good luck, Eastern Conference. So I would say Florida, A+, and Dallas, A+. They're going to be a problem in the playoffs. Quick note on the Buds. I think Carlo and Lawton are good, not great. Initially, I was like, if the Leafs are just going to settle for Scott Lawton, maybe like a B-. But adding Brandon Carlo is huge, especially with Chris Tanev out of the mix right now. So the Leafs are probably getting like a B-. But, Trey Living, he loves big-bodied, mean defensemen. And I think he was running out of time, right? So it's like Scott Lawton's available. I got to go get him. I think there was an offer for Rantanen, but it included Mitch Marner, who didn't want to waive his no move. So he was in the fight. But at some point, it's like Lawton's sitting there. I got to go get him.
Yeah, like you said, probably those two offers that Cow and Mitten in first. Then you had Marner was in there, right? And like you're not making that trade unless you're locking up Rantanen. And honestly, the way Marner has I've been on the Marner side a little bit more, given what he did with the Four Nations, how he played in that final game, and he has been no more noticeable. But I can just feel that body attitude in Toronto. He's just like, I don't see that want to stay there like he says he does. I don't think I believe him. But I hope they don't lose him for nothing. But he has his right as a player to not waive his no movement clause. You signed him to that. That's his choice, right? You can't make that. And from my perspective, I couldn't agree more with the Florida Panthers being given an A+, which pains me to say if you're a team that you cheer for in the Atlantic Division and you're going against the Florida Panthers potentially in the second round, maybe even the first if the way the divisions line up, if Tampa gets first or whatever happens, that is a problem and a tough team to play. But I'll also give it an asterisk because it's LTIR bullshit with Tkachuk. There's the first swear. I'm not a fan. I've always said
the Kucherov way.
I've always said that I think the salary cap in the NHL going into the playoffs should be the same as the season. That's been a lot of pushback that maybe there should be a little bit of forgiveness, right? But maybe not as much as there is. So I give it a little bit of an asterisk. But if you look at the retention with Marchand, I'm sure they would make it work. But Florida gets an A+. They did what they had to do to add to their team with Jones and with also Marchand, great moves. And they also brought in Sturm, underrated, a bottom six guy that I feel is really effective. I'm not going to touch on Toronto. I think they had a good deadline, sure. I'm not.
Just good,
Just
right?
a good
Like,
deadline.
good.
They did what they need to. I think
Not
Ottawa,
eye-popping.
I understand both. I have no grade for Ottawa now because the way you both gave me your rationale, but if I had to say I'm more on the positive side, it's good to see them being buyers. My losers of the deadline is, maybe it's not a surprise, but the Vancouver Canucks. I really feel that the Vancouver Canucks should have moved Brock Besser, and they should move out guys that they're not keeping. This is obviously, I'll use Parr's words, they've just showed their true colors, and that last year was a fluke. Right? That is what I'm seeing this year, given the performance on the ice. And I think they could have capitalized by moving Besser or moving someone to another team to maybe look at bringing in some prospects and kind of doing a little retool, not a reset, but a little bit of a retool. And another loser of the deadline, I'm going to go with the Red Wings and the Pittsburgh Penguins. I got a couple losers out there for the deadlines, more so Pittsburgh, because that Bunting trade does not make sense to me. And there are more moves Pittsburgh should have made. You're not a playoff team. Time to move on from certain pieces. Fun stuff, fellas. The deadline has really shaped up how the playoffs will go. The Atlantic Division looking great. Obviously, the division with Winnipeg, Dallas, Colorado. What? Two of those teams are going to be out in the first. Or what am I saying? Wait, two of those teams got to play each other. In the first round, right? That's what I mean to say. So one of those two teams that I'm referencing are going to be gone, while the other team has to play someone else and may be gone. But you're looking at eliminating a top dog right off the hop, and it's probably going to be Dallas and Colorado. It looks like that might be, depends how the division falls, but it's going to be interesting. The deadline has really shaped out how the playoffs is going to look, and I'm excited.
Go back to 1v8, Bettman, please. Like 1v8.
Yes, 1v8. You know what? Next week we'll dive into that more, along with the overtime format, because I know I promised we would dive into that. But other piece of news, Alex Ovechkin knocking on the door. I think you can hear the knocking on the door. We were talking at the beginning of the season, is he going to do it this year? Rewind the clip. I said yes. So
I said no.
I am pumped. It's going to happen this year. There's no chance it doesn't. And when he hits that 5 and under, I am going to tune into every Washington Capital game to see that piece of history. It's going to be exciting. I think it's great. Literally, no matter what happens to him in his career right now, something tragic happens, he's the best goal scorer of all time. The best goal scorer of all time. He has that title. I don't care what happens. And he's not going to retire until he passes it. Let's get real. Guy will be, if he had an injury, he'd come back at 43 just to try to break that record. Okay. He's not going anywhere. He would Jaromir Jagr it until he's able to get that record. I don't know any thoughts on Ovechkin before we go to the next point, fellas. Do you have a prediction? Are you still sticking Parr? Do you give you a chance to switch your pick if you want?
There's no doubt that he's going to do it now. There's no doubt.
They're just going to feed him, like empty net opportunities.
That's
just
what
keep
he's been
feeding
doing.
him. Just feed him.
Of empty nets.
Do you guys remember that goal he scored in 05-06, his rookie season against the Coyotes?
Of course.
When he curled it around some scrub defenseman, and it is one of the most outrageous goals of all time in all of sports. It is. You never get tired of watching that.
And Matthews
maybe we can include. He was there, right?
Matthews.
Maybe we can include
Gretzky
that.
Was there?
Oh, I know that.
He was the coach.
Gretzky was the coach. He was
Yeah. Geez.
And you can just see his reaction on the bench. He's just looking up. He's like, "Oh boy." I think it was outmeet at 5-1 Washington or something. Brutal.
With the eagle, or that classic jersey, in Washington that
maybe we could include it if this is going on socials, David. We can include it as B-roll if people need a little fresh reminder of that goal.
Mm-hmm. Oh, unbelievable goal. Last thing I'll touch on with the kind of the round the horn type discussion, substance abuse and player assistance program. Obviously, Ekblad, the substance abuse, not going to dive into it too much, but I will say the NHL is being hard on this and consistent, it seems like. I'm still kind of getting over the consistency of games for certain ones, and sometimes it's my understanding. But it's good that that's being looked into. And obviously, Ekblad has had a lot of injuries. I'm sure there's a little bit of factor in that. Player assistance program, I love that the NHL does it. I love that it's more broadcasted now. I'm a big advocate of that, as we are on this show. So it's great to see that all that's in play. Just a brief point on that. Fellas, we're going to dive right into the other 2 points that we have. And it's definitely the interactive piece that we've been missing here on the show for the past few weeks. 1999 NHL redraft. From 5 to 1 or 1 to 5, whatever you'd like to do. Parr, going to you first.
5-1. This is easy. At 5, I got Craig Anderson. At 4, I got Ryan Miller. And then I got a triple header of Swedes. Henrik Zetterberg, Henrik Sedin, and then Daniel Sedin. Just because goals, I think, are a little bit more important. So even though Henrik has more points overall, I'm going Daniel number 1.
Love that. Brennan.
5-1, I'll go Martin Havlat.
Ooh.
26 overall originally. 4, I'll go Ryan Miller, originally taking the 5th round. Henrik Zetterberg, number 3, originally in the 7th round. And then I'll go Daniel Sedin, Henrik Sedin. So I'm just flipping up.
Yeah,
remember
splitting
who went,
the Twins. I love that.
Remember who went first overall that year? One of the biggest busts ever.
Patrick Steffen. One of the biggest busts and a brutal empty netter miss against the Oilers that I will never forget. Marty Turco told me about that in person, and it was a gasp when, like, he wasn't chirping. He just said, it's iconic. It's embedded into the brain for Dallas fans. Going with my usual way, New York Islanders are proud to select with the 5th overall pick, Radim Verbata. With the 4th overall pick, the New York Rangers are proud to select Ryan Miller. Oof, that would have been wild to have Lundqvist and Miller on the same team. Vancouver Canucks are proud to select with 3rd overall pick, Daniel Sedin. 2nd overall pick, the Vancouver Canucks are proud to select Henrik Sedin. And with the 1st overall pick, the Atlanta Thrashers go with another Swede, 1st overall, Henrik Zetterberg. And it was really hard keeping Craig Anderson off that list. Parr, I originally had the same list as you until we started recording. That would have been the second time, but it didn't happen. And I had a quick little mess about Patrick Steffen. Thanks for saying that, Brendan. That's cannot be more in agreement to that. One of the biggest busts, along with
brutal
Alexander Daigle. Who's the bigger bust? Maybe that's another conversation. We'll tease that. 3 questions for us, fellas. We're going to try to get into this in the next few minutes here. We have 3 questions. We're going to do kind of a blind ranking or kind of a quiz question that we're going to ask each other. It's going to be freedom here from whatever way we want to ask it. So, Parr, I'm going to go back to you first. I went to you first a couple times here because you didn't share what your question is, and I'm eager to know what it is. So me and Brendan are going to go back and forth. Well, not back and forth, but we're going to choose a ranking or choose the answer unless you have it between one of us, whatever your situation is, and then we'll go to Brendan, then me last. So kick us off with these interactive questions that you have.
Feel free to work together on this one or give your own answers. Doesn't matter either way. I want to know, out of all the teams outside of the wild card, but in a playoff spot, do you think is the biggest fraud? We've got the Panthers, the Leafs, the Lightning, the Hurricanes, the Devils, the Capitals, the Jets, Stars, Avalanche, Oilers, Kings, Golden Knights.
Oh, wow. Okay, let's go with East and West, Brian. Let's choose one from the East and the West.
Okay. Frauds, the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. That's the East. You know what? Yeah, I'm siding with you on that. I'll say Carolina. I say Carolina. Western Conference. Brennan, what do you got for the Western Conference?
Western Conference.
Do you want me to run through the teams again?
Sure.
Jets, Stars, Avalanche, Oilers, Kings, Golden Knights.
The West is so loaded, Davey. Yeah. It's hard to pick.
I kind of want to say the Kings. I really feel I'm not sold on the Kings, especially in net. I'm not sold on in goal.
I don't know if they're frauds though. Like they always draw the Oilers every freaking year, and it's just like it's tough, man. It's like they actually play them well.
The Jets are sick. The Stars are sick. The Avalanche are sick. I think Minnesota's good. I think they got a good squad.
They're a wild card.
Yeah, they are. Golden Knights are who they are. Blah. And the Oilers are. They made the Cup final last year. So it's hard to pick anyone else because the Kings those teams haven't gone past the first round. But the Jets also are having any playoff success. So, but I've complimented them all year. So I feel like it's hard to go against them.
I'll let you pick this one because I picked the East.
I'll say the Kings. I'm going Kings.
Okay. All right.
Kings. All right, Brandon, you're up. Yours. Like, what do you got for your question?
Oh, for my question. Oh, yeah.
You already ran the spot. I'm going to make you pick.
I was just going to agree with Kings just to wrap it up. Okay, we'll say Kings because the West is so loaded. Even though I enjoy watching the playoffs, I think they're probably the worst out of that bunch, right?
Yeah, that's why I went with that.
Okay. All right, we'll go with that. My question for you guys. Which team would you rather see the Leafs play in the first round, Tampa or Ottawa?
I'll go first. Easy. Why are we going to galaxy brain this? Are we for real?
Yeah,
are
a little
we
bit.
actually so for real? Are
Yeah,
we
I think so.
See? Think about it. It's
the
tough.
Senators. No, it's not even close. Like, the Senators haven't been to the playoffs since 2017. I don't care what the regular season shows. I don't care at
Pesky
all.
Sens, dude. Pesky Sens. I'm
That's
more
what I'm
scared.
saying, Davey.
I'm more scared about the Sens than the Lightning because Toronto beat Tampa.
You guys have been hurt by this franchise, and I don't blame you. That's all this team has ever done to us. But if you're actually at the point where you would rather face the Tampa Bay Lightning, who have won 2 cups and have Andrei Vasilevsky in net, than the Ottawa Senators, who may have spanked you a few times in the regular season. But back when the Leafs were making the playoffs all the time, all they would do is kick ass against the Senators.
In the early thousands.
You guys are galaxy braining this too much. Go.
Here's the one thing, no Parr. 2022, they took the Lightning to 7. Okay, coin flip. They lost. 2023, they beat them in 6. So they're familiar with them. They have solved Vasilevsky. Keefe went toe-to-toe in terms of coaching tactics against Cooper. Now they have a winning coach in Berube, right? So there's familiarity there. And if you lose again in the first round, does it suck? Does the laughingstock that the Leafs are jokers continue?
Failure.
Yes,
yeah.
but it's against Tampa. It's like, Jesus. Then the small little footnote is we got to change this playoff format because the Leafs just get the best teams every year. If they draw Ottawa in the first round and lose, that is 2021 vibes written all over it when they blew a 3-1 series lead to the Canadiens. So it's almost like if they draw, like, I just think they would be a little bit more shaken in their boots if they played the Senators. They'd be in their heads. Tampa, it's like, let's go to work, boys. We got a tough team. Let's go to work. Ottawa would be like, we have to win, right? We have to win, right?
But
we're down in the series. And they crap their pants.
But like,
spicy take maybe, but something to think about.
I get what you're saying, but the fact that you're saying that like it would be even more catastrophic if they lost to the Senators, that means they're not as good of a team. So there's your answer right there. I would rather play.
It'd be embarrassing. It'd be more embarrassing to lose to the Senators.
It'd be embarrassing no matter what. It would be embarrassing if literally the second coming of Wayne Gretzky, Bobby Orr, and whoever you wanted was on a team and beat the Leafs in the first round. You're not avoiding that conversation whatsoever.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie.
Telling you, if they draw the Senators, I would put money on the Senators to win the series.
Dude, not gonna lie, the Leafs don't get past the second round this year. That's a failure, let alone the first round. This team needs to succeed this year, or they're done. The window's gonna. Just saying, the window. I don't care how long Matthews is signed for, or Nylander. Just saying. I like that. We'll go back to this, maybe, boys. Third and final question. Oh, we're a little above, but I want this question. 6 iconic moments without knowing what's coming next.
6. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going with an odd number. Probably should have went with mine first, given the time. Yeah, sorry, I said odd number. Yeah, it's great. It is Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen, day of recording. All right, I'm going to name them. You rank them. Work together. Yeah. Number 1, Miracle on Ice.
Like 5. They didn't even win the gold medal.
Okay.
Brandon?
You agree, Brandon?
Okay, I'll put it there too.
Wayne Gretzky's record for breaking the 50-goal streak in 39 games.
3.
Sidney Crosby's golden goal.
Uno.
Mario Lemieux's return after cancer.
Yeah, I'll go 2.
Got 2. You know who he played when he returned? Yeah, fun fact. You know who he played against? The Leafs. And he scored on his game back. I remember that. Number 5.
So what's 4?
Bobby Orr's Stanley Cup winning goal.
Oh, God. That can't be 4. Can we do a trade?
Yeah.
Yeah, the overtime goal, 1970. Ooh, I don't know about that.
Okay, 6 or 4?
4.
4? So this is what you're putting 6, because this is not an actual moment. This is why I did 6, and that's why I said odd from the start. Ovechkin passing Wayne Gretzky in goals, because that shit is happening, but that shit is happening. So you guys are gonna have it 6. That's fine, but I think
we put 2 at 4 by accident, though. So something has to come out. I think we put something else.
Oh, you got some part.
iOS knows it's my birthday coming up in a couple weeks.
Oh, early. Hey, you know
Maybe.
what? I had it as an odd question. We can just call it as a 5 if that's fine. Okay, that works. So number 1, you had the golden goal. Number 2, you had Mario Lemieux's return from cancer.
Okay. 3.
Number 3 is where you've decided to put Bobby Orr. It seems correct. Is that where you decided to put Bobby Orr?
It's all jumbled now, but yes.
Yeah, where you put Bobby Orr. 4 was Wayne Gretzky on his streak. 5 was the Miracle on Ice, and 6.
Oh God.
And 6 would be Ovechkin passing Gretzky because it has not yet happened, but it will happen. It will happen.
Okay, we'll come back and rejuggle then.
Love that. That was my loop for the day, fellas. But that is the top shelf segment for today, and we hope everyone enjoyed all the clips that we're going to have for this and that we're going to be posting. Follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, at the Game Sports Podcast. Make sure you follow us on 91 Network as well. But fellas, Alex, thank you, my friend. As always. Brandon, the cart.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on. And big games this week, especially in the NHL, for some standings movement, especially Toronto against Florida. Going to be certainly very, very interesting. And I'm liking what's going to come down the final stretch in the NHL season.
I bet you the Leafs will lose to the Sens on Saturday. We're recording this March 11th?
12th.
12th? Pardon me? Wednesday, March 12th? Yeah, I think they'll lose this Saturday against the Sens. Sorry.
Win the division.
Right.
If you're a Leaf fan, you want to win that division somehow. That's what you want. But then you get Ottawa in the first round. You get Ottawa. Who cares? Who cares? Finish. Try to cross over to the other division then. Whatever happens. Wait, Carolina in the first round. Yikes.
Oh, jeez.
All right, fellas. Thank you. We're going to be right back. When we come back, we got Chuck-a-Puck. Special edition of Chuck-a-Puck here today. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Game Sports Podcast. Host David McCaig, continuing to host you this evening. We're on segment 2, the Chuck-a-Puck segment. And I'm not going to get up and grab the Chuck-a-Puck because Trudes knows I can't throw it down to my floor for a lot of reasons now because I no longer really own the house that I am in right now. So I'm going to keep the floor in immaculate shape. But we are in the Chuck-a-Puck segment where we touch on here on the Game Sports Podcast local hockey from the Sault Ste. Marie optic and, of course, dive into the OHL and the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. But we got kind of more of a variety here today, expanding Chuck-a-Puck. It's a bigger puck, if you will. And I'm going to introduce our first guest host, but he's also no stranger to the show because Dustin is one of the original hosts with yours truly from the In the Pocket segment, but also a variety, but mainly on In the Pocket when he was a part of the team from 2016 to 2018. And we have a running joke where now he's a casual and I add a 0 to his check each week. And this is the first time he's been on the show. And I looked since the beginning of 2018. Look where we are now. It's been a while, and just like we talked about when we were off air, his picture is probably still up somewhere with me in one of the random restaurants. I know it's up in my dad's garage. But Dustin Grondin, my friend, glad to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dave. I know this is the first time since 2018 when you gave me a time that you were actually on time. I used to just be sitting in a bar at SportsCenter waiting for you to show up. And, by the time you got there, I was already burnt out, so to speak.
Couple of wings and some beverages into, and I'll put this on video so people know. If you know, I think Dustin knows what I'm talking about. This used to be our microphone.
Yeah.
Okay, this used to be the microphone that we used to use. Now look at what we got going on here. Okay, we've upgraded a little bit.
Yeah, we were definitely like caveman around the horn. Pass the cell phone on the cup.
And we also have an archived episode that was 3.5 hours long. We'll never talk about that. Remember that In the Pocket segment where we did a 3.5 hour episode?
What did the other guys say after you were done?
Oh, love it. You still got the chirps. That's good. Okay. We're going to be talking about lots here on Chuck-a-Puck, but let's go to the co-host who joins yours truly on a weekly basis. You're going to see a lot more of G on this, which is very exciting. But Trudes, my friend, good to see you. New specs too, buddy. New specs, looking sharp, you're looking good, my man. You're looking good. How's it going?
Thanks. You guys too, of course. I always remember the Iceman days and the baseball days. Grondin, you played a few games for us, I think.
I played one. And
one.
I went to slide at Strathclair thinking that it was like soft sand, like the pros, and I slid about 4 feet to a grinding halt about 16 feet short of the plate, and I just cherried up my whole beer belly, and that was the last game I played because I'm just not an athlete, man. I'm just not an athlete. I don't got it in me.
I pitched that game. Dustin was there too, I think. I pitched that game.
That sounds
I just
right.
remember that.
I
That's all
pitched.
I think.
Call up night. Kager's on the mound. Call up night. Got to put Kager on the mound. You know you have call ups when you got Kager pitching 4 strong. Yeah. Fun time though. Iceman, I'm glad you brought that up. That's actually, and I remember Dustin messaged me when I signed with the Iceman all the way to the championship. You know how many championships we won after we stacked our team?
Look at
0.
Zero.
Okay. We had a stacked team. Ryan Venderman, if you're from the Sioux, you know Ryan Venderman. Oh, look at this. Look at this picture here. Classic picture here on the top shelf segment. If you're on video, you got to look at this picture Dustin has here going on. Okay. But look, we didn't win, Trudes. Not one championship, but we had 5 championship appearances and we lost. I think it's 4 or 5, and we lost each time. I'm a curse because I've never won a finals at all in my career outside of midget hockey. It was called midget at the time, just so everybody knows. Midget hockey.
To be fair, you were on our Jumpstart team just now that won the Jumpstart.
That's my first tournament win in almost a decade. That is unbelievable. I've lost in the finals across the river. Now I haven't won 3-on-3 since I was 25. Nope, all losses. LLLL. I am a curse.
All we needed, Tiger, was a still sharp Blake Spears.
He helps. Blake Spears on the roster, former Hound, very helpful to have on the team. And he's very competitive, Blake Spears as well. A very competitive lad. But fellas, we got Chuck-a-Puck. Let's dive into it. Sioux Greyhounds, look, playoff pushes are now here upon us. We're hitting near the end of the season. There's lots to touch on with the Hounds. Trudes, I'm going to go over to you first, kind of tee up what's going on for the Hounds this week, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Yeah, really, really solid weekend of hockey for them this past weekend. They managed to salvage a point against a very good Oshawa team who's third in the Eastern Conference, and they outshot Barrie 45-19. Unfortunately, gave up power play goal late, leading to a regulation loss, but 2 really strong performances against some top teams in the East. Not sure if we can ask for much more than that. So I can imagine that they're excited to get going on this road trip where they take on Windsor, Sarnia, and Flint this weekend. I'll be in attendance tomorrow night in Windsor, so I'm pretty excited about that. Going to visit strikeout co-host Connor Henderson. So we're gonna catch the boys in Windsor and hopefully can steal a point there. And then 4 points, looking good in Sarnia and Flint. I imagine they're expecting 4 points out of Sarnia and Flint this weekend. So it's gonna be it's biggest weekend of the year.
Pivotal weekend. Hey, Dustin, I'll go to you to spin off on that huge weekend for the boys in red.
Yeah, I mean, I think going further back to the last 2 games, and I see Trude's there all the time, and obviously I'm there every game supporting the boys. But what a shame the loss to Barrie was. A late goal sunk them, but if you were in attendance, you saw a Greyhound team that was structured, hungry, winning every puck battle against a very, very good team. It's unfortunate that they let a power play goal in because they had cleaned up. Last time they played Barrie, Bo Jelsma does this thing where he shoots into the bumper and he finds that soft ice, and it's oftentimes on puck side, and they like to work it up the sideboard and into Bo Jelsma for a 1T in the bumper slot. And it got them when they were in Barrie the last time, which they played very, very well, and they let Bo Jelsma score that one. They don't let Bo Jelsma score that one this time, but they let up a power play goal. And that's just a sign of a good Barrie team too, adapting, right? Like, good teams can play a B- game and still find a way to win. And that's kind of what Barrie did. But you couldn't walk out of the rink thinking that the Greyhounds sold it. The Greyhounds did everything they could through the entire repertoire in the kitchen sink at Barrie. And I was extremely proud of the boys. I don't even know if I could say that. I guess they're not my boys, but a lot of them come back home. A lot of them come back home after. And, I think they knew they played enough to win by more than a goal and lost by a goal. And then on the flip side, I think Oshawa was a bit of a tougher night. Oshawa obviously loaded. Andrew Gibson obviously patrolling the blue, and they've got some other feisty guys on their team, and they got Richie and Seneke, and they did a good job shutting the big dogs down for a long time and keeping that game tight. Obviously, rumor mill swirled, and Owen Griffin scored a nice shootout goal, and I think maybe he was one of their targets and a nice young player. But again, we did enough to pull a point out, and when you get down to the last little bit here, that point's going to be huge, I think.
Massive.
Because for people who are on the fan page, I've been a little bit more vocal lately. And one of my hot takes, which I don't think is a hot take, is I think the Hounds will finish seventh.
I agree with you. If they play like they can play. Funny you mentioned them cleaning up their penalty kill, and I think there's been a lot of talk recently about, like, just on the fan page especially, like next year in general, like coaching change, management change, player trading certain players. So like that's an example there of like a coaching adjustment and a player adjustment.
Well, one happened and then the other happened, right? It's punch, counter punch.
Right.
And that's just
Yeah.
two guys playing a high-paced chess match in terms
Right.
of two coaches, and then in terms of 5 and 4 players. And we have a good penalty kill because we should score shorthanded goals. Like, people forget about that. We lead the league in shorthanded goals. So we're aggressive on our penalty kill. And some go in.
Love that.
But there have been games where our penalty kill has changed the momentum and won us the game. And there was one just recently where we scored 2 shorthanded goals right here at home, right? And games are not part and parcel. There's a bigger picture, and people have to stay positive and not lose sight of all the good amongst some of the tougher breaks.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Just that's a positive example. It's a good example of what this team's like trying to do and how they're growing. Because ever since the start of February, this team has kind of like, you've seen that penalty kill like just go so much more aggressive. Like, so it's confidence, and they're actually finally getting there. We had a good chat the other night. How many players on this team is it their first year of major junior hockey? And the players that did return didn't see a lot of ice time last year.
No.
So that development has taken time. Now it's like, and it's still like it was supposed to take a lot of time. So that's huge. Barrie, they obviously, like you said, played a B- game, and it was mentioned in Peter Ricci's article, like they're so good of a team that just 3 simple, tiny miscues end up in the back of your net, and that's just a sign of playing a good team. But yeah, 2 amazing games on the weekend. Like, I think too, like I'm with you. I think they're going to finish 7th.
Yeah.
If they continue this train.
So looking forward, this is obviously public knowledge, so I'll just read you off Sioux's remaining games and Sarnia's remaining games, right? We're hunting Sarnia, right? So we have Windsor, Sarnia, Flint, Sudbury, Sag, Sarnia. So there's, an 8-point swing in 2 games between us and Sarnia, just right off the bat. I feel like we have Flint's number. I think we play Flint well. I think they're a tough team, but we've managed to get points in Flint games, and I think they're a comfortable team for us to play. Let's be quite honest. Windsor is heavy team, hard to play against. The boys are going to go out and play hard, and Windsor's had a bit of I believe they've played some heavy hitters recently too. I think, the London was on the docket recently. So it's like, you never know what you're going to get. We're on the road. They're at home. If we can steal one out of Windsor, that'd be amazing. But, in the Flint, Sudbury, Saginaw, those teams are not, they're good teams, but we're not having to play the London Knights. We're not having to play the Oshawa Generals. We're not having to, I think those teams, they're beatable. They're beatable for the Sioux if we show up with, the energy level and the compete level that we've been playing with for the last, I don't know how many games, but I'd say 15, the last post Christmas break, we've really turned a page and started to see the incline in the development of some of these guys who are just finding their footing in the OHL, right? They could be 17, they could be 18-year-olds, but they have 35 games played in the OHL. Like, that's the measurement, right? It's not junior A, right? It's not GTHL. It's the OHL. This is the best development league in the world, and they're playing against high-end talent, and there is a major adjustment period. And I think, taking one kid as an example, but someone like Jordan Trudeau, who came here from the GTHL, and the kid's got incredibly gifted raw goods, and you're seeing his game really develop. Same with his 2 line mates, Brady Smith and Brady Smith, right? So it's just a matter of allowing them to have that growth and allowing them to have that time without having unrealistic expectations, and allowing them to learn the structure, play free, make some mistakes, try to nip them in the bud so they don't happen again. But most importantly, so they don't happen next year. And then obviously all our fan hopeful 2027s, right? That's what we're licking our chops about. But Sarnia has Erie after that big fight. Who knows what Erie's got left? I mean, there are a lot of distractions in Erie. Head coach is suspended now, but then they have Sioux, Barrie, Windsor, Flint, Sioux, You don't really want Erie, Barrie, Windsor coming down the stretch. So we got to win both Sarnias, and we got to steal another one of those games. And here we are knocking on seventh's door.
And I think, and I've talked about this on a lot, the playoffs is so pivotal to the development of the youth on this team. And no matter how many games you get, if it is 4, if it's 6, 5, 6, 7, or more, if you have a Cinderella story and you go on, that's even much more cooler of a story. But just getting games, no matter who you play. And of course, I think it's better that you finish in that 7th area because of who you'd be playing in the first round if you finish in that 8th, right? Which is quite challenging, despite how cool it would see to maybe see these London guys come here and play some games. No, you want to see the team get as many playoff games as they can. To be frank, we don't see them winning this year. Okay. You don't see that happening. If there are Cinderella stories, right? But let's be realistic here. And that game that's going to be happening against Windsor, the first game, the game that you and Connor are going through, Trudes, I think that's a great way to start a road trip, to be honest with you. And I'm not taking it just from experience or from a direction, just from overall knowing starting a road trip against a team that's tough off the hop sets the tone for that road trip, can set the pace for the weekend going into. And when you start off against Sarnia, you're right off the momentum of the other game, win or lose, and playing at that pace. I think that's a good momentum center, win or lose, going into the rest of the games for the weekend against Sarnia and also against Flint. The game that, of course, that I'm highlighting is that final game, Sunday, March the 23rd, right? I think that's going to be a massive game, right? The last game at home, the GFL is going to be rocking. That Friday game against Saginaw, you got graduation night, so something to look forward to there on the 21st. A little promotion for you there to the OHL Hub, to the Hounds there. But that last game is going to be great, and I think that's going to be getting in for that. You're going to see the team, the win or lose. I think that's where you're going to say, okay, this is who's finishing 7th and who's playing 8th. And, like I said, the setting the tone for the weekend, that game against Windsor I think is great, opposed to having to play them at the end of the weekend. I'd rather them play them first going into the weekend. People may have a different take on that, but just from experience. But again, this is a team that getting that playoff experience is pivotal, and there are some tough games in the schedule. We talk about Windsor. Talk about Saginaw be a little bit tough. They've had some tough challenges. Overall, you got, when it comes to Sudbury, middle of the pack team, some tough tests in there, but games that are winnable, and they prove that they can skate with the big dogs. The game against Barrie, exciting, right? The Oshawa game, a lot of guns on that team. Saniki was one guy you mentioned. Gibson, former Hounds, of course, who's a World Junior standout and the best defenseman, in my opinion, on Oshawa after they brought him in. So they were games that were exciting that they weren't technically they were in these games. So overall, I think this weekend is a big test, but also a good set the tone for the playoffs. The playoffs start not just after the 23rd. Playoffs started maybe arguably last week, if you think about it, trying to get into and try to stay in the playoff spot and move up. But I would almost like to say that the playoffs, the mentality has to be that it starts now. You're playing playoff hockey now. Your mentality is must win games, get into the playoffs, go in the playoffs with momentum, and a bit of belief that you're going to be, maybe you could be that underdog story maybe if it's against Windsor. Obviously, finishing 8th against London, the belief is a little bit less, but anything can happen. Good points, though, G, with bringing up good teams find ways to win. We see that. Unless you're a Toronto Maple Leaf fan, you see the other way around, where they shoot yourself in the foot. But the teams find good teams find ways to win, and that's what happened this past weekend in the circumstances with the Hounds.
Yeah, and there's the other half of that too. Is you have to learn how to win too. Right. So that's part of the process. I could tell you from experience this year coaching the core team, tough losses and unexpected losses and, different adversities that are thrown your way. It's healthy. It's healthy because for us, and obviously I think this is going to be a later story, but we had, I think, disappointed ourselves in a lot of ways in North Bay and Niagara and Burlington in our tournaments. We played pretty good hockey in Niagara and Burlington, but we didn't have the ability to finish the game on the winning side, right? We were either ties or 1-goal losses. And all of that, obviously, I think came to a head in the playoffs and at NASA when we were finally able to break that mold based on kind of the lessons that we had learned along the way. And I think in the OHL, with the talent level and different kids coming in or young men, I should say, you do have to take it on the chin. You have to learn that you hate losing. You have to know how to respond to adversity. You have to be in the pressure cooker because the pressure cooker only gets hotter the more successful you are and the deeper runs you want to make. So you have to learn how to come out on the winning side of these. And so I think there's value in some of these tough losses too. And I think that's the only way you can really look at it when you're dealing with young competitive men or women. This isn't a gender thing. young competitive people, right? You got to just teach them that there are lessons to be learned in victory, but in defeat as well, right? And it's just to keep going.
Like that. Trudes, before we go to Dustin for the last two topics, we're going to talk about billeting. Very excited about that. Different piece of content that we haven't touched on the show. I know we're going a little overtime, but it's fine. You got a special guest, you get a freebie. We'll just borrow from Justin. Justin doesn't mind going a little bit quicker than longer with me. So, and also we're going to touch on the high school points that Dustin already touched on. So, Trudes, any final points going into the playoff push or based on any response back from what Dustin said?
I think too, the one thing that we maybe have forgotten about, because it feels like January, February was so long, I think just being because it's winter, but this team wasn't even healthy until 45 games into the season. Like, we're looking at a team that was missing 2-3 veteran players up until the 45 game mark. So this team isn't how they're performing right now, all healthy, is probably closer to how the team would have performed all year had they did not go through the injuries that they did. Remember, we mentioned that a lot in the fall, the injury bug hitting the team, 1-2 a night, just going down to injuries. So,
well, and I think if you run down the names too, right, Trudes, if you think about guys that, and whether people know or not, and I'm not trying to spill beans, but Owen Allard's played very few games. Caden Carlisle has been dinged up all year, right? Whether it's different things he's playing through, getting pucks to the face, going through that kind of stuff. Spencer Evans. I mean, that guy has just taken an absolute beating this year. Extremely unlucky, and we're relying on him. McConnell Barker was hurt at the beginning of the year. Brownie's had some injuries, right? So, and then, Gibson was away for World Juniors, and there was a lot of, there was a bit of a cloud above the Gibson head because everyone kind of knew we were saying goodbye to him and we love him. So there was that weight. Brady got hurt, right? Rolled his ankle and he was banged up. I mean, the kid comes back because he's just an absolute animal. He comes back way too early. If you see him before the game or after the game, you wonder how he's going to put a skate on his foot. But you watch him during the game and you would never know that, he's dinged up. But he was, playing through a black and blue ankle for a long time. It would have taken a lot of guys out of the game for weeks, and it just takes him a couple of days to bounce back. And, you're talking significant. Nord hyperextended his knee, right? And it's just yeah, they get healthy, but when they start playing again too, they're not healthy. Don't kid yourself. They're not full pop. It takes them a couple weeks to get back going. And we just juggled however many names I just told you. And they're guys who are meant to play important pieces. And then everything's not gelling. Then we get Sharon, which was great. Then we had to get people to come. And we've ended up with some really unbelievably talented kids in Jordan Sharon and Chase Reed, right? So silver linings here, but yeah, man, we were hurt.
And then that's the thing too. You miss a couple weeks. It's not just hopping back on a bike. Hockey shape is unbelievable. It's different. You have to be in great, and these kids are or these young men are, but missing 2-3 month of game shape of game reaction, game speed, that's huge. That's a odd long period of time to be out. So yeah, this, I think they're about 500 in their last 10-15 games, and with a few more bounces they could be above. So
the proof's on the film, man. Proof's on the film. Yeah. Watch it shift to shift. That's all I gotta say. It's I've watched every shift. I've watched every shift this year, right? So it's don't check your phone at the end of the night and be upset. Go back and watch the shifts. And if you leave their games upset about the effort, you just got to reconsider, man. You got to reconsider what you think is effort, because those boys put it out there since Christmas. Those kids, those young men have been putting it all on the ice.
Good points. Fellas, 2 points we'll get to at the Greyhounds. Big games this weekend. Make sure you tune in and support, even from afar, definitely. And positive interactions all around about these young men. Now, Dustin, I want to dive into billeting.
Yeah.
It's a different piece, and you know what? It's something you don't hear on podcasts, okay? And that's why we're buying more time with this segment, because of the 2 points I want to touch on. One, the billeting, and two, I want to talk about the high school piece, because they deserve to get more love than they get for recognition. But the billeting piece, different piece of content. You and I chatted off air saying this, bring a different piece. And, people can be involved in billeting. You do billets. So I want to give you the floor about how you want to go forward with this topic, about the experience and kind of the importance of it and the effect of it, what it does for the player and yourself, whatever you'd like to dive into for the next handful of minutes or so regarding billeting. I think it's a wonderful topic to bring up and share with our viewers and listeners.
Okay. Trude, you got any questions or?
Yeah.
Where do you want me to start here?
I just went to a whole different direction there. So, Trude, you know what?
Well,
Go first. Trude.
Actually, this kind of really works out, and we didn't even really plan this, but my parents actually just submitted a billeting application the other day. So they're looking forward to hopefully hearing some positive news in the near future. So I guess what is maybe like a week-to-week routine look like for these young men? Like, what do they have to go through on a daily, weekly basis, because they do travel every second week? So what are some things that maybe they have to do to prepare and you help them to do?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, Trudes, how was your childhood?
It was amazing.
Wow, then your parents will be great billets, buddy. And they're hockey fans to boot. You know what? Taking in a player is like adding another child to your family, right? If you don't look at it that way, you shouldn't do it. That's just the brass tacks of it. Week to week, he gets up and puts his socks on just like me, sometimes wears pants. So that's good. But, they're out the door. The way the Greyhounds operate their schedule, they're more like a pro day, and they changed this. I want to say in the second year that I did it, because this is my third year billeting, and they have a more pro style day, so they're out the door at like 8:00 or 8:30, and at the rink early, and they do the bulk of their on ice and rink work in the morning, and then there'll be optional skates in the afternoon, and sometimes they do specials groups or certain guys doing indie work or goalie work. So breakfast isn't a big thing here. They have breakfast at the rink. You know what? It's taking it a step back. I don't know how every organization works, but I know the Greyhounds and Tim Lukenda, the ownership group, and Tracy and the Jerry Liscombe, and the people who do the day-to-day for the boys at the rink are incredible. There's no expense spared. So when they get to the rink, they have nutritious food for breakfast. They oftentimes have snacks there for them, so as a billet, they make my life extremely easy. Travi eats breakfast with our family. I say Trav, but Trav, Brady, Chase eat breakfast with my family. Oftentimes it's a ritual on Sunday mornings when they have the afternoon game, when they're getting ready, right? They go to the rink about 4 hours early to do all their preparations, stretch, get warmed up, look at film, just do their prep stuff. So, breakfast is only once in a while, and you really don't really see them at lunch. They tend to hang out with one another, and I think that's amazing. And then, you have dinner ready just like every other day, and sit down with your family and your kids, and they're one of them. And if you have one, you typically have three, and it's great, man. I wouldn't trade Trav for the world, and a very special experience.
So I guess what I'd like to kind of go on, and I think, and you can agree with this or not, G, is that I think the biggest challenge of billeting is taking that step to do it. I think that might be the biggest challenge. And I don't mean that in any way. I think it's just people, they wonder, what is this going to change in my life? What is this going to affect? How is this going to help me grow? So that's the first point that you can react on. The second point that I'll bring up is, how has billeting helped grow you as connection to the Greyhounds or the community or the fans? Two parts there for you that I'll get you to elaborate on.
Yeah, I think getting started, and I think this has changed, and I'm not throwing shade at anybody. I feel like hockey players when we were that age were a lot dumber and reckless.
Sorry. You know what? We're good. Segment. That's so true. That's it. We're good.
Yeah. And, there are still, I know every hound on the team. I've had every one of them at my restaurant. I've had every one of them in my house. I've had every one of them interact with my kids. I've left them here alone. I've never had a single issue. They're all extremely polite. I think a lot of the, character references when they're doing their scouting and making their picks, I feel like the Hounds draft or trade for a certain kind of human being. And so I think the biggest thing people worry about is like, I'm going to have this, crazy young man hockey guy who's reckless and he'll ruin my house and he'll be disrespectful. And it couldn't be anything further than that. That is not even close. The worst these guys do is come over and eat all my kids' bear paws. They're just snack fiends and drink all my kids' yogurt drinks. And that's mostly Kluche. But they're wonderful. They're wonderful young men. And I think it's a privilege to be able to bill it. I really do. I think that once you do it, it's hard to, especially once you spend a little bit of time with the young man when he moves in or older. A good example is a friend of mine from Cora took in Jacob Frasca last year, and they're still in touch. And Jacob Frasca was a wonderful young man, just unbelievable young man. And same with Jack Beck, outstanding character, both of them. And our family billet. So Lisa, my wife's sister, has Brown, and my wife's brother had Dentino for all those years, and that's kind of how it started. And yeah, so I think once you start, and I think if you're fortunate enough that Jerry thinks that you can take care of one of these boys adequately, and not to say that people who aren't successful can't, I think they do. I've spent enough time with all the billet families at the dinners that we go to, and they're all wonderful people. And Trudeau, obviously, I think your parents would be a great addition, but they're all wonderful people. And I think there's a special bond that you create between a billet, a billet and a billet parent or a billet family. So once you get started, these guys are not reckless. They're not going to ruin your stuff. They are a family add, not a family subtract.
Love that.
And
good points.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Dustin. I mean, like I said before, my childhood was awesome, and it was surrounded by sports. So
yeah,
my parents, their goal is they would love to welcome a player to the community and give them somewhere comfortable, and just like give them a safe place, somewhere comfortable for them to live and to be able to go into work every day and come home and do the things that all young 16 to 20-year-olds do to relax when they come home. Video games, whatever they need, and they want to be there for that young man. So, and thanks for the insights. Thanks for the insight. Those are some things that not a lot of just general, maybe common hockey fans wouldn't even think about.
And it helped you grow, G. It helped you touched on it briefly a little bit, saying how you extended your family and all that. But as a person, you've always been a responsible guy. Jokes aside,
lying to the camera.
But it does help you grow. It's a different experience, and I think experiences such as this and such as anything in life is a positive, especially being positive, helps you grow in the right direction. Always, we're always growing as human beings. We're growing. It's human nature, and it's good to take that step to do that. And it's obviously grown, helped you grow as a person even further and expand your wings in the hockey world.
Well, and they all come with their different personalities. Historically speaking, I had Harrison Ballard. And then I had Julian Fantino, and then I had Travis Hayes. And there's a lot of difference between the three of them. And I love all three, like my own children. I still talk to all three. I hope I talk to Trav, obviously. But and you have to wear a lot of hats, and you have to be ready to. And what I mean by that is, Harrison was fighting for a spot in the lineup every night. He was an amazing kid and so good to my kids. And, we'd sit on the couch and talk a lot about hockey, watch a lot of hockey, watch TV shows. My job as a billet parent, him being, away from his parents and his support, was to make sure that I just kept encouraging him to go and continue to work hard and to earn minutes and try climb the ladder no matter what. And that was, and he was such a nice young man and a good player. And it didn't work out for him, and he went to the Q. And then decided to move on with schooling. And then when he moved on to the Q, it was very hard for me. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was pretty upset saying goodbye to him. It was very, very hard. Not that many hours passed, and Jerry called me and said, hey, we just traded for a guy, and we're wondering if you'll take another kid. Because I think at that point, living on the golf course and you have a restaurant to go eat at your disposal, and I'm not bad to hang out with, I don't think. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm about a 4, which is better than, other people would give most. Me. But, I think maybe I had earned a call back, and Jerry gave it to me, and he just goes, "We just traded for this kid from Owen Sound. Will you take him for the rest of the year?" Okay, like my heart still hurts, and let me talk to Christina. And so I talked to Christina. I said, "Well, it's only a couple of months. Let's give it a shot." So I called Jerry back, and I go, "Yeah, you know what, Jerry, we'll do it. When's he coming?" It'll land at midnight. Okay, so here comes Julian Fantino, and if you've ever had the pleasure of meeting Julian Fantino, he's a weapon. He's a beauty. We're just two dummy peas in a pod, and that was a totally different relationship. We became almost like best friends overnight. You know, he gets out of his vehicle, looks at me, goes, "What's up, bro?" And I'm like, different, very different.
Gonna fit in just fine.
Harrison, but hey, right on, man. And I got Julian, and we went down, and his mother came up a couple of times and spent the week at our house and got to take in the games because she could work remote. So we housed him and his mom and formed a really special bond with them. They're wonderful people. And his dad came up for a week one time. And then summer rolled around, and here the Fantinos opening their doors for us. And we spent, I think, 4 or 5 days with them down in Vaughan. They live a hop, skip, and a jump from Wonderland. So, you know, they hosted us, and we spent some time together. And then, yeah, I mean, saying goodbye to Julian was very, very difficult. But, you know, I still had Julian, and Jerry comes down in the preseason and says, "Dust, we got this kid, you know, kind of a hockey lineage with this family, the Hayeses. Avery, obviously, tremendous success in the O, and now having tremendous success in the A, and is a wonderful young man. And Gavin, as all Hounds fans know, not bad. Got a little bit of my scoring touch. I taught him everything he knows. Not really."
Snipe show.
And another wonderful young man. And they said, "Oh, we got the third brother. There's a third brother. There's actually 4, but and the youngest one's a stud too. But
We're talking about that.
we got this kid, and we don't necessarily know where we're going to put him. Can he live with you for a month?" I'm like, "God, I got Julian who never shuts up, and now I'm going to add another one." And, a little joke. Anyways, so I talked to Christina, and it's like, "Oh, it's only a month. You know, that's great. We'll do it." So it's year 2, you know, and so we're eating around the table, and a month is up, and, you know, Julian's like, "Oh, can't imagine where you're going to go live after you just lived on the golf course." Like, you know, just being Jules and just bugging Travi. And Travi's quiet, especially last year. He's a lot more of an open book now, but, you know, Travi just kind of mumbles out of his food, you know, "I kind of hope I get to stay here." And the rest is history. And now I'm in year 2 of the Hayes experiment. And, you know, I'm really hopeful that I get a double Hayes experiment next year with.
Well, yeah, there it is.
The fingers and toes are crossed, and the Hayeses are a wonderful family. And when they come up here, we have a blast together. You know, those are the types of bonds. And so with Julian, I spent a lot of time talking to him about the future in terms of, you know, part of my job too with Julian when he's an older player is to talk about hockey, but to talk about maybe options after hockey, right? And it's the only responsible thing to do is just to not deter him from the fact that you can't make a paycheck playing hockey, but those days end and you have to have alternative plans, whether you make it pro or not, right? They all do something else, or they all have a backup, right? And so, you know, part of my job with Julian was to be a little bit of a parental guide in terms of professional choices and keeping options open and maybe trying to figure out what he was good at. And he went to TMU, and now Julian is taking an internship with a big insurance company, which is perfect for him because if you ever talk to him, he's got the gift of gab, much better than McCaig. I know. I knew it was coming. And then, you know, with Trav, I think you have a really special opportunity to have a first team all-rookie, OHL all-rookie last year. Tremendous ability, wonderful kid. And he moved in on Friday, and he was 15 years old, and his 16th birthday was on the Sunday. And you're celebrating a kid's Sweet 16 with him, you know, and he's 5 hours away from home. And you have to be really ready to love them. You have to love them. So
this is like getting this piece of insight to understand the experience is great. And honestly, hopefully it helps urge people to not only to supply like Trudeau's parents have, but to also consider it. I know I always thought maybe it's something I do, but obviously got a little baby on the way. We're moving into a new house. There's definitely a lot going on at the McCaig house right now for sure, but it's always something that, you know, would be something that would help me still live the dream through their eyes.
Listen, when your little boy's JJ's age, do it. Don't even hesitate. They're fantastic. Make sure you have a mini stick room, and make sure you don't care about the drywall in there or the trim.
Just break it
or the floor
anything.
Yeah,
But I know a guy that can maybe put a rink at a golf course. And go for those. I know a guy. He might be a good idea to talk to him about that.
But we'll talk about that at a later date.
That message was brought to you by Root River Golf Course. No, I'm just kidding. They don't have an ice there yet. But that aside, lastly, I know we went a little bit over, fellas. So, I don't want to take, obviously, just for sake of time, I want to dive into more with high school, but I still want to touch on it because you guys obviously had a big NASA win. High school hockey has grown. Cass is back in the league. I think it would be good to talk, give it a little brief, get into the highlights of this season and what has happened. And then as we progress into the summer and next season, dive into more of it, of course. But going to give you the floor with high school hockey here in Sault Ste. Marie. Seeing Cass back in the league, thumbs up. And to be transparent, last year I did coaching with Cora. This year I didn't take part into doing that. And obviously, see, when you have McCaig part of this, you win. So it's
better
not a bad
results.
thing. Better results. The writing's on the wall. But G, give us a little background about the high school hockey here in the Sioux and kind of how the progression has been. So we'll transition from the OHL, obviously in Billeting, to give a little local love for high school before we wrap up the Chuck a Puck segment today.
Sure. I don't know if it's really news to anybody, but high school hockey has transformed in the last
decade. I'd say decade.
It has been. It's been a long, steady movement. And I think that there's a lot of factors that go into it. But, there's a lot of success stories this year. And I know you kept saying Cass is back in the league, but White Pines is back in the league this year too.
Sorry, White Pines.
No, and, Rob Zago and Matt Carria and Sandy Carlucci, has really stepped up and got that program going and did a tremendous job with those guys. We went to Niagara together, and it's an extremely difficult tournament, and those guys left it all out there and had an absolute blast, and we got to spend some time together, and that was really fun. I think all the coaches, I think a really important part is that the coaching staff support each other. So it's a respectful, kind of safe place to play. And we try to put the best example that we can forward for the boys because we're beyond hockey, we're shaping young men. And so I think everyone keeps that in the forefront of their mind. But back when we played, it was AA, double B, double C, there was AA selects, there was triple A's, there were so many options, and whether there's, there must be less participants, but high school hockey used to be seen as like thug or goon or like this is your last hurrah, and there are a lot of guys that went through high school hockey that really changed the scope of that. The Caden Dundasses of the world, and Colin Miller did it to the extreme, and
good example. Donors too. We gotta we'll give love to Michael Doan, of course, who's no longer with us, of course, but obviously a teammate of mine and played against a lot, hated playing against him.
Unbelievable goalie.
That's for sure. Yeah, arguably one of the best in Sault Ste. Marie to put on the pads. I know there's a lot of good goalies and players in the Sioux, but Doan was definitely a special talent, right? So high school hockey has been shaped, and that's the way it was. Gee, that's a great example. When I was in high school and I ended up getting cut from AAA, I'll never forget Remy Jantez coming up to me in the hallway of the Sir James Dunn hallway and saying, hey, Dave, can you play with us instead of going the AA route? And obviously I had people in my ear as a young kid thinking I was going somewhere even at the age of 16. And once you still play junior in Blind River at the age of 20, at my time, given how hockey was, that you come to the realization of what your life's going to be. To be honest, for me at that point, things have changed now for opportunities. But I thought AA was the best route to go. And honestly, it was. I went to AA with Donnie Gagne. We had Michael Doan, Brett Finley, probably one of the best AA teams of all time. And we took everything. One of the last things I've ever won in hockey, to be honest with you. So it was a decision that I don't regret, of course. But high school at that point, you're thinking, this might not be best for my development or my exposure, right? That's what was embedded up here. But that's not the case. Even then, it wasn't the case. It's not. But now especially it's been highlighted. I'm happy that high school has had that time in its spotlight, because it is it's the avenue that's developed very well.
Yeah, and one thing I want to make sure we're all clear on, right, is the messaging from high school isn't you're not going anywhere come play high school. It's just a different path to develop. And there are quality coaches and quality players and quality tournaments. And when we travel, into the States or to Niagara or Burlington or any Southern Ontario team, they have AAA players. I never, ever try to recruit a player by saying, where are you going? Right? That's not the message. It's, a lot of times we've worked really hard at Core, and we're very lucky with where we're at as a program to have a lot of high quality players come and approach us. And my messaging is simple to them: play where you'll be happy. Play where you'll be happy. Right? We compete with AAA. It's not a secret anymore, right? There's kids that are deciding between AAA and high school hockey, right? We land somewhere between AAA and AA, overall in the league. And, the first thing is it's play where you want to be happy. And what does happy mean? Some kids don't want to go and play every weekend on the road and live that lifestyle, right? Some of them want to have a part-time job. Some of them, girlfriends are a big thing if you're realistic, right? Like, you don't want to always be away and go to school Monday to Friday and travel Saturday, Sunday to Kapuskasing or Sudbury or wherever your next game is, right? Lean towards it, because maybe we get a different fan in the stands, right? We have our student body that have come out to support. In February, our attendance was 2,000 people in February for our playoffs, which is, if you saw the city final between us and Cass, it was 3-4 people deep all the way around the boards, packed. And what a scene, what a memory for all involved. And, have rep guys there, and you see the Thunderbirds still in half their gear. They walked over from their practice to come and see what's going on, right? And it's like, there's a certain sense of pride putting that jersey on for your school. And I know that's crazy because you get to wear the Hound logo with a lot of pride too. But it's just different, right? And part of it might be the realization about the future of hockey with each individual, but I don't believe any of that comes from a single coach in our league. I think it's more self-directed. Kids are linked with social media and they almost know where they stand, right? And so they have to make a decision to either continue in the elite programs like the AAA, AA Hounds, or to come, I would say, to a highly competitive program like high school and don your school jersey and play with the guys you see in the hallways, the guys you eat lunch with, the people sitting across from you in the classrooms, with the teachers who coach you. And it's a great feeling, man. I won cities with Cora as a player. I've now finally done it as a coach. Unbelievable feeling. One of the greatest, memories to date in my lifetime. I've loved every second of coaching the Cora Colts, but it's beyond the Cora Colts. The Grecos, Jamie Greco, Tom Herndon, Bobby Gilbreth, blast from the past. He's on the other side. An old Core teammate of mine. They do a wonderful job with Spear Heights, and Josh Dunn and Duraz and Boots did a wonderful job with St. Mary's, and Spencer Lawrence and the boys did an unbelievable job with Cass, getting that group to buy in, to come out. That was a group of 50ers who decided they were going to come back and try to do something special, and they were special. They were an unbelievable group, extremely classy, very respectful, talented dogs. And I have a lot of wonderful things to say about every team in that league and the group of young men and coaches that made them up, really. So I think it's a great place to play.
Well said. Trudes, I'll give you the final word on it. There's always something that Angelo Bombaco said to me that I will always remember, and especially, Dave Torrey kind of mentioned it too, and I was at the Hound camp back in the early days, let's call it. It says, if you're a good hockey player, we will find you anywhere. And there's also the fact that he also said on top of that in the same breath, essentially, that we'll find a new hockey player, especially in this region, every 5 miles. He said 5 miles, but I'll say 5 kilometers, just to reference Canadian. So Angelo Bombaco, legend, obviously well known when it comes to the Sioux Greyhounds side of things, which segues nice into this Chuck Puck segment. But Trudes, I'll give you the final thoughts about, the overall exposure. You've been in the background, worked in the background with the Hounds. We won't dive into everything that you did there because you're obviously a big part of the team, but you've seen the team grow and kind of what they do. And in the community, it's a hardworking town, a hockey town. And I've said on this podcast multiple times that I don't think hockey is the same as it used to be, but I don't mean it that in a negative way at all. I'm just saying that there's opportunity to get back to where it was, and it's getting to that point. And that guys like Dustin and individuals like your parents, yourself, the passion. And you know what? Despite the fan page saying what it does, even at times, the passion is there in Sault Ste. Marie, and it's great to see what we have available to us here in the heart of the Great Lakes.
Well, yeah, I think the passion is evident no matter what, like no matter what point of view you have on that fan page. And it
Well
says
said.
something about our community, right? As if, okay, the team's lower in the standings, you know, the passion of the people is going to come out. So that's huge. And that's one reason why I don't think this junior team's going anywhere anytime soon. But as for me, like I never played high school hockey, but I remember when I was in my final years, it really started kind of to take off. Like a lot of players jumped over. So I don't know if that's more of like a interval thing, or if it was around 2014, 2015 that it really took off. And I know the coach of Cass, Jack McLeod, and he was always excited to come to the Sioux. And I caught a couple games this year. It was great hockey, and the exposure was great for the kids.
Good.
It's quite the atmosphere. My cousin played. He was in net for Dustin a couple of years ago, and just the atmosphere that he went through being a goalie for Cora, playing against St. Mary's he went through
the juggernauts, man. He
like,
was the last
right,
guy standing for us.
and if you know him, like my cousin Matthew, he's your number one stereotypical goalie. He was just like, yeah, whatever. Like they're all taunting my name. Yeah, whatever. It's just
Weird breeds.
So like, I mean,
awesome young man.
So he is an awesome young man. So a lot of the kids that you coach, or a lot of the kids that play, sure, they may not be going to major junior into the NHL, but growing up, I can't imagine my life without sports. Like I learned so many lessons playing sports, playing competitive baseball and like semi-competitive hockey. So it's a great way to spend your time as a young athlete, and you learn the lessons you learn. You will take with you through the rest of your life. So whether you're playing high school hockey, junior A, major junior, junior C, men's league, hey, it's all relevant. Have fun, stay safe, and exciting time of year for everyone we got coming up here. So let's get out.
Well said. Dustin, extended overtime here, but we're going to call this. We never do that nowadays. Believe it or not, we have extended a couple times on this segment, but you know what? This was expected for me. I wouldn't expect anything less than to have us three talking about Sault Ste. Marie, the Hounds, high school hockey, billeting, the content that we went into today. I think everyone has a lot of interactive pieces that they can get into and be a part of that. I hope they were able to enjoy hearing this piece from us. But Dustin, I want to say thank you to my friend as we wrap up Chuck a Puck for taking the time to talk Hounds, talk billeting, talk high school, talk your thoughts about the community and contributing, and just showing your face back on this podcast, where the last time you were here, it was called the Game Sports Show. Okay. It's now had the Game Sports Podcast. We were on live radio before. Now we're uploading on the other side. There's been change, and I add a zero to your check every week, as I said, but you're an original host on this show, where we used to record in the pocket in your kitchen when you lived on Devon Road. Okay, the first ever In the Pocket segment, which was a name that was done by Dan Fanton. I took that name from him because he was supposed to join our show, didn't. So I kept the name, told him I was going to do that.
He's a fan.
We haven't looked back, but it's great to see you come back on and have you on more as we can and when appropriate. But I appreciate everything that you did for today's segment. Man, it was awesome.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate that. To Trude's point too, because I feel like, if any listeners are in that Greyhound fan page, I think, the light that we may have broadcasted it in, I didn't want it to come off as negative. I like the fan page. People are incredibly passionate. To Trude's point, I think their passion is reflected in how well we've done historically, and how successful the Greyhounds have been historically, right? And if you're a dud of a team all the time, nobody's going to be passionate about you. I think their passion speaks to how well we've done over the last 20 years, right? In terms of how much success we've had. We haven't won the big one, not yet, but our time's coming.
Love that. G, thanks again. And G was in my wedding party at my wedding. It was a great wedding. That's a year ago.
I don't remember it.
We're close. Yeah, it was a great night. And Trudes, I want to say thank you to you, my friend, as always. Extra time today, but fun and great. And I gave you a treat today with a surprise guest that you didn't know was happening. You can attest that you didn't know that was happening. But as always, every week, man, I appreciate your time and your chats.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm biased, but the Greyhounds have the best fan base in the league and in the world, right? Like, so I mean, we hold everybody accountable, like, you know. So that's a big thing. Like Dustin's saying, if your team not doing well, they might move to Brantford or they might move back to Brampton. So we're so fortunate. Definitely, like, we won't be going anywhere anytime soon. The red and white stays. So go Hounds go, as always. That's my sign off.
Love it. Gee, thanks again, Trudes again. And to leave the listeners with a fun fact, the London Knights hold the unfortunate distinction, let's call it the OHL team with the most losses of all time. Fun fact. The London Knights record-setting streak was 31 games. Yes, I pulled that off of online, but I wanted to share an interesting fact because the show has been full of good points. London Knights are the OHL team with the most losses of all time. Just throwing that out there. You think of a successful organization, fight length, they still hold the most losses. So they hold something in a category that's a little less fortunate. Little light to share for the Chuck a Puck segment. Again, it's been Chuck a Puck. Thank you again to Dustin and to Jordan Trudeau. We are going to take a quick breather. When we come back, it's going to be more of a roundtable about a bonus in the pocket segment with Justin Hykel joining yours truly. Talk about the NFL free agency. And we also might dive into some MLB, but maybe some WWE as well. Some fire coming out of the WWE that we talked about last week, but Justin's going to share his points. A lot more coming here on the Game Sports Podcast. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Game Sports Podcast. David McCaig continuing to host you this evening. This is the third segment of the Game Sports Podcast here tonight. And the last segment was a doozy. It was very long, but it was very good. Okay, that's the best way that I could put it and the simplest way that I could put it. And welcome back, Dustin Grondin, coming back with absolute fire. Yes, it's on a still casual special occasion basis, but it was great to have him on. But I hope you've been enjoying the show thus far with Top Shelf and Chuck a Puck. Here on the third segment, we're going to be diving into a majority of the content is, I'm going to be transparent with you, in the pocket. Bonus in the pocket segment, which is sponsored by Sports Center Bar and Grill in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, just to remind you. But before we dive into the in the pocket segment, which of course a lot of movement in the National Football League, so that is why we're going to be diving into that for sure. But Justin and I haven't been on a show together for a few weeks. You know, Justin is a big Maple Leaf fan, just like yours truly. We've talked a lot of hockey on this show already, so you know what, we won't go into that. But Justin, I'm going to put him back in for some playoff hockey when that comes around the corner. Okay, so definitely keep that. I got Justin's favorite hockey player on the back. If you know, you know. But I want to say something to you about WWE. Okay, Justin, look, Parr and I were on last week, and he was at the Elimination Chamber. I didn't go. Absolute stupidity. I had tickets right beside him I could have got. Didn't go. I thought about who can I ask to go. And I'm not going to lie, I thought of you, but then I realized you have a child. So that didn't happen.
Funny story. My buddy lives down south, Josh Buchan. Everybody knows, you know him. He lives in one of the B suburbs of Toronto. It's not Bramladesh. It's one of the other ones. He sends me a message this Saturday morning, and he goes, "Look, there's like good tickets. They're like $200." And it was like,
and the weather was shit here, though, right?
It was terrible, but like I thought about it. I thought about it a lot. And like completely random other story. One of our drivers at work, guy's like 60, probably maybe late 50s, but 60 for sure. Friday morning, he tells us, "Yeah, so I'm going to Toronto this weekend at an event." "Oh yeah, what are you going to do?" "Go to that Elimination Chamber."
That Elimination Chamber.
What? "Yeah, you know, I just got into it a little while ago when it was on Netflix, and so I'm going to go check it out."
Oh, lucky guy. Lucky guy.
Just I'm just going to go check it out. See what.
And you know what broke the internet?
Turn. Yeah, like,
you know what broke the internet? John Cena broke the internet. Yeah. Okay, and The Rock. I'm so mad because 2 weeks prior to the event, Alex Parr, everyone knows Alex, especially if you follow the show. If you don't, then I don't know what to tell you. But there's 2 tickets. He said, "Dave, do you want to go?" And I couldn't think of anybody. What the hell? Could have thought of you, my friend Andre, Nathan Inch, Intercontinental Inch. Everybody knows that character on here. And I didn't ask them until the Thursday before the event. And they're like, "Dude, We got kids. We got lives. You got to tell us in advance, right? And then I was looking at my wife. I was like, pregnant wife, dude, let's go to Toronto. And she's like, no, not really. Like, I don't feel like spending $1,000 on going to see Elimination Chamber, which credit to her, because I wouldn't blame her. She would have just been there just for me, and that's how great she is. But like,
that's not fair to her.
Yeah, it isn't. It is. If you want to spend $1,000 when Eminem goes on tour, I'll be the first one to do that. But that's something that we're excited about. But besides the point, the Elimination Chamber, that event was wild. Wish we could have been there. Justin, you're a WWE fan. Attitude Era, look, we've seen it, been through it all. It was terrific. Wild, despite what you watch on Netflix with Vince McMahon. What's going on right now, Triple H is writing great cinema. And yeah, it's fake, people. It is fake. We know it's fake. But it's like when you watch a TV show. If you watch Love is Blind, I'm not saying Love is Blind is fake. Isn't it prove it isn't, but the point is you're watching a reality show. It's also not the same thing. It's not a reality event. It's still fake, but again, it is a show that you watch to enjoy. That is my example, and this has been pure cinema.
Still requires some athletic ability, like
some.
You know what I mean? I'm not. I could probably do my best Otis out there, but that's about it.
Good example. I love that.
That's all I got.
I know I can do I can do that sound and look up like Roman Reigns. I don't know if I can spear someone like he can, but
no one's putting their ones up for you, Dave.
No, I'm not gonna lie, and I don't mean this in a whatever way people want to take it. I asked Hannah if she could acknowledge her tribal chief while we were cooking dinner, just to see it as a random thing, and she actually went, and I almost fell to the floor in proudness because I'm there just cooking up, prepping steaks, prepping dinner, and she does this, and I'm prepping steaks. She does the acknowledgement, and I have never been more proud. That's great. But you, Justin, can write this stuff. It's been great. We're in for one hell of a year. I'm almost tempted to buy tickets to go to Vegas, but we know that's not.
Yeah, that's a lot. There's a lot. WrestleMania is coming to Indianapolis, I think, not next year, but the year after. So
maybe we can plan an event in advance. Just saying.
See where we're at. We'll see where we're at in the state of the planet
and state of the podcast. Never know where that's going to be as well. It would be a fun event to take part of.
It's going to be guys with kids complaining about sports
live with The Rock in front beside us. Love it. But you know what, Justin? You got to give credit to the WWE. It has been terrific stuff. I'm invested.
Good storytelling, and honestly, it's been WrestleMania season's the time. If you're going to casual fan looking to get into it, WrestleMania season's the time to do it.
Bold prediction. Go. What do you got? Do you have any? Or a prediction? Do you have something that's going to happen at WrestleMania, or from now till then, or after? What are we expecting this year? Anything you want.
I mean,
table's yours.
It's not really a prediction, but I think it's been going around out there that Stone Cold said he'd be willing to help out Cody Rhodes if he needs it. So
if I hear that glass break, I'm going to run through a wall for that guy.
I'll shit my pants. That's 100%.
Bold prediction, Jey Uso wins against Gunther is one.
I hope so.
And two, why not? It's so predictable, but John Cena might be. I don't know if they're going to take that story from Cody yet, but I don't think so truly. But something in here is telling me that these title changes and things that are just changing, maybe they do that.
If it forces the Cody Rhodes heel turn, then that's worth it. That makes must-see TV through the summer because, as a rule, the summertime, the stories get a little iffy till SummerSlam. Then SummerSlam sets everybody up for the fall again. But
8 minutes of WWE bonus content for you. Leave us your predictions below about WWE. Justin and I will talk about that more, and Alex.
Yeah, we could touch base again on that.
I love it. We got time.
38 days, I think, till WrestleMania.
WrestleMania preview show. We're going to do that for the first time on this podcast this year. That is happening. We are going to be invested, and I hope to have a belt by then that I can show during the show. All right, we made a promise to ourselves about time, and we ate up a little bit.
We already blew that. So
in the pocket segment, officially starts now. Oh, just kidding. It's been a segment the whole time, but bonus in the pocket content is what I should say is going to kick off right now for you. Free agency season has begun. We are invested into all the moves, everything that's happening. Justin, give us some highlights and some takeaways that's happened in the past, never mind 24 hours, the past week, it feels like, but everything that's happened that the listeners want to be caught up with.
All right. Well, we're just going to do some rapid fire here through the big ones. We'll start with the Bills. I mean, Josh Allen, big new deal, $330 million. That's a pretty juicy one. Bills added a few receivers. Well, Josh Palmer re-signed Shakir. The other big one is Joey Bosa signing with the Bills. They ditch Von Miller and add Joey Bosa on a pretty friendly contract.
Very.
Miami Dolphins, nothing crazy on that front. They signed Zach Wilson, so watch out for the moms in Miami. Zach Wilson's in town.
Hide your wife.
Patriots, yeah, hide your wives, kids, whatever. Just hide your wives. Patriots bringing in backup quarterback Josh Dobbs, the Pastronaut. Other than that, Mac Hollins at wide receiver and Austin Hooper at tight end. So getting a few weapons out there on offense, but nothing crazy. Still building it up there in New England. Justin Fields signing a 2-year with the Jets. So the latest victim to play quarterback for the New York Jets. I was kind of hoping we'd end up with Fields in Indianapolis, but we got a gift instead. We'll get there shortly.
$15 million signing bonus, $30 million guaranteed for Fields. The Jets are investing into the promise that he showed with the Steelers this past season.
I mean, he's not a bad player.
No, Steelers helped. I think the Tomlin effect really helped him playing in that system, and I think that helped get his confidence back. I think he'll fit well in New York, but I don't see a playoff push by any means.
No, I think they're going to be more competitive than they have in previous years.
Yeah.
Nothing against Aaron Rodgers. It's just tearing your Achilles and then playing for the Jets is a bad combo.
Mm-hmm.
Moving along, DeAndre Hopkins signed with the Ravens. That's a pretty interesting one.
They're sick. They're sick.
D-Hop's getting a little older in the teeth, but, I think he's still got it. Lamar Jackson, they got Zay Flowers there. I mean, D-Hop is, if anything, it's someone for the young guys to learn from, just how to be professionals. And it gives them a nice bailout option, to be honest, as a third wide receiver.
Yep.
Cincinnati Bengals just re-signing a lot of their own players. T. Higgins, non-exclusive franchise tag. And then just a lot of re-signs there. Cleveland Browns trading for Kenny Pickett.
Steeler legend.
Super Bowl winning quarterback, Kenny Pickett. So Cleveland Browns got their quarterback of the future. The other big one, Myles Garrett re-signing.
Thought he was going to go. I thought he was getting traded. I thought for sure, but
I think
you were right.
Was like, I won't sign even if they offered me $159 million. So they offered him $160, and he's like, all right, cool.
I'll take
it. I'm sure EJ would have some better opinions on that. The Kenny Pickett one, I think, is interesting. We'll see.
Yeah, and Russell Wilson is in the running, apparently, for his rumored. He's visiting Cleveland tomorrow, apparently, too.
What a weird quarterback room that would be.
Very. You got 2 former Steelers have been in the Tomlin system. Russ Wilson is a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Kenny Pickett's a Super Bowl winning quarterback, technically.
And then Deshaun Watson making more money than the rest of the team and not playing.
Wild. Continued joke in Cleveland. I'm sorry. Continued joke.
Steelers making a big move. DK Metcalf.
Love that.
Wide receiver. Interesting getting a wide receiver with no quarterback, but we'll see. Kenneth Gainwell signing with the Steelers as well after Najee pieced out.
Decided to go with the Chargers. Little running back depth, and Jalen Warren was tendered a contract as well, so they're probably looking at Gainwell and a Warren tandem, which kind of looks... I like Harris. I think that's a loss. He obviously was very a standout at college.
But he never popped off.
Nope. He had the one decent year in his first year.
Just average.
Yep. DK Metcalf. I'm going to see how that goes with Pickens. I'm interested to see how that double goes, but they definitely need a quarterback to throw them the football.
It's going to be fighting guys all the way down the field.
And he's absolutely shredded. Signed a 4-year extension, $132 million. They gave up a second-round pick for him and a late pick swap as well. I think that's a good value for someone like Metcalf, who's going to allow – you're going to have 2 receivers that can catch the football, but now you just need to have somebody who can run the ball. I'm thinking from a Steeler perspective, if you're a fan like I am, the running game is kind of a question mark, but you need to be able to throw the football, and you have no one to do that yet.
Well, I mean, you might be looking at the draft for a running back. You never know.
Mm-hmm. Darius Slay as well signed in Pittsburgh too, which was a very good signing for corner. I think that adds a little depth to the corner pieces for Pittsburgh. So I think there's good moves. It's interesting to see who they bring in for QB.
Big play Slay. That's a good one.
Yep.
Moving on, we got the Houston Texans doing a lot of shuffling. Traded for Christian Kirk with the Jags. Also bringing in some wide receiver help after they're losing, Stephon Diggs there to free agency after his injury this year. And I don't think Tank Dell's going to be back either after that injury. I mean, we all saw that was a rough one. And then they also traded Laramie Tunsil to Washington. So moving on from a pretty big name offensive lineman. Interesting, but they're in my division, so I'm good with it. Trade your entire offensive line. I'd be fine with that. Indianapolis.
There you go. Right in your backyard,
yeah.
Justin.
I mean, I might be a little biased, but we probably signed the two best secondary free agents, Charvarius Ward and Cam Bynum. Cam Bynum brings some sweet dance moves to the backfield, and apparently a very good locker room guy. Khalil Herbert at running back from Chicago, but the piece that everyone's waiting for me to talk about, Danny Dimes, $14 million contract. This guy just gets paid to exist. Like, how much the Giants paid him, like $60 million last year, and they told him to go away.
Paid him away.
They had him playing corner in practice. And then he goes on, backs up in Minnesota. You know, coaching staff there spoke highly of Daniel Jones's time there, which was like 4 weeks. So I don't really know. I mean, you're probably not going to shit talk a guy if you don't really know him. But we're supposed to be going to do a quarterback competition with Anthony Richardson here, and we got the guys with the two worst passer ratings in the NFL last year. Anthony Richardson having the worst passer rating in the history of the NFL, actually.
Let's hope that he, as that being Anthony Richardson, can bounce back to be the quarterback that you expect him to be. I think the window's starting to close on that, but this year needs to be the year if that's going to be changed. And a healthy year. You hope for a healthy year.
I mean, if we get like 2023 or 2022, 23 Daniel Jones, he was like a poor man's Josh Allen. That's not a bad player.
Nope.
But it's tough. I'm work with a couple Giants fans. Got offered a few jerseys this week. They're blue. They're blue and white. It's basically the same jersey. It's not. I don't want it. But moving on, I spent a little too much time there getting out some stuff that I had to air.
Needed.
I couldn't carry that with me much longer. Jags signing Nick Mullins, formerly of San Francisco fame, but I think he was in between somewhere else. Nothing else really crazy there. Hunter Long at tight end after losing Evan Ingram, but I think that's more of a downgrade. Some offensive line help, and we'll see if that helps this year. Tennessee, Van Jefferson at wide receiver, Johnny Hecker at punter. You know, your free agency moves have been kind of dull when I'm picking out a punter. Moving on to the Broncos. Broncos made some moves. Evan Ingram at tight end. I think that's a pretty good move. Bringing in Jared Stidham, re-signing him for backup. A lot of help with the linebacking core and the secondary.
Yep.
So that's just some Broncos. The improvements there, I think, are going to help them kind of chip away at that division because the Chiefs are only going to be the king of the castle for so long. Speaking of the Chiefs, Elijah Mitchell from San Fran, just re-signing a lot of their own players.
Nick Bolton's a good re-signing. Obviously, that's a big. I mean, it's big piece to have returned for them.
The guys have worked out for them. They made it to the Super Bowl. How many? 3 of the last 4 years. So
3 to 4.
Why not re-sign your guys? Make it again. See if you can do it again. The Raiders,
good old Raiders.
A lot of action there. Trading for Geno Smith, so quarterback of the future there, and I almost said Oakland, but Las Vegas. Some moves on offensive line, which I think is honestly going to help them out. I mean, you already have Brock Bowers. Your running game is okay. Geno, Bowers, maybe some wide receiver help through the draft, but you might be all right there. Max Crosby signed a big extension, $106 million.
Massive. Yeah.
Michigan guy, I believe, as well, or went to college in Michigan. So there's that. Some corner help, Eric Stokes, Jeremy Chin, but nothing too crazy in Oakland. The Geno Smith being the big one. I kind of figured that maybe DK would have got traded there as well, but I guess maybe Tyler Lockett's still a free agent, so maybe a little reunion there. And that's their wide receiver help.
Maybe Diggs, if Diggs doesn't go to the Jets.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. Chargers, your boy Najee Harris, signing an okay deal there. With the escalators, could be almost $10 million he makes next year.
Signing bonus, base, max value, and incentives. Yeah, definitely big. Definitely good. Khalil Mack is my favorite signing for them.
Yeah.
Re-signing.
Well, I mean, you can't just cut Bosa and not re-sign Khalil. You had to keep one of them. The Bosa trade, though, Bosa cutting him it blows me out of the water still. But I mean, the Colts cut Peyton Manning, so whatever.
Yep. And then it goes and wins the Super Bowl in Denver.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about that. I just left that part out conveniently.
Sorry.
Cowboys, big move, Javonte Williams. But historically, the Cowboys aren't big spenders in free agency, and their record speaks for it most of the time.
Yep, they mostly re-sign and trade. That's their thing.
New York Giants re-signed Tommy Pastrami.
Wait, he doesn't do that. That's Manziel. What does Tommy do? He does something with his hands.
Tommy DeVito.
Yeah, what does he do with his... I know this is Menzel. I'm doing the money hands with Menzel. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's it. There we go.
You're the Italian.
Yeah, Jesus.
I can't do that. I crossed some lines there. I have to get permission to do that.
You have permission.
All right. Okay. You can sign that hall pass. Eh?
Darius Slayton, good
re-sign. Some offensive line help, which I'm sure Daniel Jones could attest to would be a great addition there. And the nightmare continues of them not having Saquon on their team for some reason, because he re-signed a 2-year extension with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Getting paid.
$36 million guaranteed and a Super Bowl and the hell off the Giants. What a time to be alive for Saquon Barkley. Eagles kind of just stay in the course, though, not doing much else. And
don't need to.
Why would you?
Don't need to.
Commanders loading up a bit, though.
Mm-hmm. I love the Mariota. I'm a big fan of Marcus. Everyone knows why I love Marcus Mariota. He's the reason why I started loving college football, for the most biggest reason being an Oregon legend. But again, love that move there. And they got depth at quarterback. Deebo Samuel. Sorry, I took your fire here.
No, that's fine. Roll with
5th round pick. I almost think he should have got a 6th. I think you can get a 2nd for Deebo Samuel if you got a 2nd for Metcalf, to be honest with you. Jeremy Nichols, good signing there, re-signing there. You still have a bunch of pieces coming back like Ertz and Bates. You got some depth everywhere in pieces that's going to give Daniels the tools, and loving it. The Washington Commanders, man. I'm telling you.
They could be a wagon.
It could be an absolute wagon.
NFC North, Chicago Bears, a lot of offensive line help. I mean, like, established offensive line help. Like, they got some Pro Bowl players. So I think they're pretty serious about protecting the QB and see what he's got in year 2. I think they've kind of given him all the tools they can give him to make that offense work. New coach, Ben Johnson, the offensive guru. So we'll see what they have going on there. Lions just re-signing a lot of guys, defensive players. I think they're kind of cap screwed. I'm not 100% on that, but same thing with the Packers. Packers are also kind of cap screwed.
Yeah. Vikings spent money, a lot of...
Yeah, the Aaron Jones re-signing kind of surprised me. I thought, 2 years, $20 million seemed like a lot of money, but you know what? If it's working for them, keep on keeping on. They also signed half of the Colts offensive line to a lot of money. Ryan Kelly, great center, very durable guy. A little upset to see him go. Will Fries got a ton of money, and he was hurt most of last year, so I don't know on that one. We had a 5-game sample size, really. $88 million is a pretty big pill, so you know what? Make your money, man. Good on you. Some secondary help. Isaiah Rodgers signing there. Onto the Atlanta Falcons, nothing crazy. Jake Matthews, some offensive line help. And Leonard Floyd on the edge. But again, I think they're kind of toast with the cap with their 17 quarterbacks all making a ton of money. Carolina Panthers, just slow and steady. They were chipping away at the end of the season there. Started to get really interesting to watch. Also re-signed Andy Dalton, another 2 years. Some stability at backup QB for Bryce Young. And then, J.C. Horn, re-signed him for a big deal. $100 million.
4-year extension, big signing
there,
Carolina.
One of the best young corners in the league. Good on you, Carolina. Have another good draft this year, and you know what? That division is wide open.
Yep.
The Saints are in cap hell. They re-signed Chase Young, and I think they're still like $50 million over the cap. So they've got some restructuring for guys there to put a team on the field. And I don't know. I'm not sold on Derek Carr at quarterback. Whatever. Tampa Bay re-signing Chris Godwin, re-signing Levante David, bringing in Hassan Reddick, so that only adds to a defense that's pretty solid. And I mean, the offense was great all year, so just keep rolling. Let Baker do his thing.
Cooking there in Tampa. Cooking.
Yeah. Cardinals bringing in Jacoby Brissett at backup. A little bit of offensive line help. A lot of help on the defense. Josh Sweat, that's pretty good. Pretty big move, and he's getting paid there, $76.4 million, 41 guaranteed. So not only do you get to go live in Arizona in the desert, you get $41 million guaranteed in your bank account to do it. So good on you, Josh Sweat, for getting paid.
Here, hold on, see if you can hear this in the background. A little bit of a clapping. No, we can't hear it. We can't hear it. I psyched everybody out, but here it is. I'll do this.
All right.
There you go.
The Rams, Jimmy Garoppolo re-signing, Matt Stafford re-signing, Tutu Atwell re-signing, big move, cutting Cooper Kupp and replacing him with Devontae Adams. I'll let you guys be the judge in the comments, whether that's a upgrade, downgrade, no grade.
A no grade. It's a no grade.
Yeah.
But you cut royalty. You cut loyalty. Someone who's been part of that team, big part of their Super Bowl win, obviously wanting change. So I don't think that was the right move. But
No,
that's
talking
my
about
opinion.
cutting players, San Fran. Just letting everybody go. Not really any notable signings there, just notable leavings.
Leavings.
With Ayuk gone, Debo gone. Same thing with Seattle. Like Geno, Tyler Lockett, DK. Like that's the Seattle Seahawks. Everyone pretty well knew.
And Sam
they're all
Darnold
gone.
getting paid.
Yeah, $100 million.
3 years, $55 million guaranteed. Okay, $37.5 million in year one in this deal. $55 million guaranteed. $100 million guy is Sam Darnold. This was a guy that was drafted by the Jets, went to Carolina, started getting some stuff together, went to Minnesota this year, was an unsung, underrated, whatever player for the Vikings, had a very good season, and now he's cashing in. Warning Seattle fans, don't expect that again, especially with the tools that they have for him right now. Marquez Valdez-Scantling's not going to be the guy. That's going to
Justin Jefferson.
It's not. No, it's not. Overpayment, probably the biggest signing that I think is going to be a bust.
I just don't get it.
Bust.
That's all. I mean, they have a running game, but they got rid of all their wide receivers. So.
All of them. And they got rid of literally the guy who's the most shredded wide receiver in the NFL. Thank you, as a Steeler fan. And you lose, that signing, we're going to be talking about it by week 6. Week 6, try to remember this conversation where we're like, why did they sign Sam Darnold to that money? They're going to be 1 for 4 by week 6, whatever, 1 for 5, whatever. That's going to be their record. Bold prediction. And if I'm wrong, I don't mind it. But if I'm right, I sound smart. So either way, it's a win for me. There's no loss to that. Good on Sam Darnold proving me wrong. But nope, 1 and 4, 1 and 5 start for Seattle. Telling you right now.
That pretty well wraps up our notable sightings. But one of my observations through all this is $25 million in the NFL is $4 million in the NHL. Just the numbers you're seeing to me are asinine for some of these players.
Good example. That is the comparison in terms of a contract. When I think of Sam Darnold, if you want to reference a forward, people may call me, you may disagree with me, I don't know. But if I look at a Sam Darnold, I'm thinking of a Charlie Coyle.
Well, Josh Allen for $330 million or Austin Matthews for what, 13?
Different times, different price, whatever you want to call it. It's stupid.
It's two different sports where it's not really even comparable in terms of the market and the money that they make. Yep. But it's just it's just such a swing.
Very much.
It's
unbelievable. The NBA is the same. Baseball.
Baseball's.
Dustin, that has been pure in the pocket recap of all the signings and trades and all the fun stuff that's happened in the NFL the past handful of days, including, particular today that we can give you an update for. What's your reactions below? Let us know. Let us know what you think. Who won? It's a quick thing before we sign off, Justin. Winner and loser of free agency to this point. I'm going to say in terms of for a winner, I think actually, you know what? I'll go the loser route first. I think that I got to put the Seahawks up there. I don't think what they've done, and the 49ers, people think that's crazy because of Darnold. I could be wrong. I think that was a massive overpay, but that's the going rate for people, it seems like. I'm going to give winners to the free agency. That's going to maybe come off as a surprise, but winners to the Raiders. I like what the Raiders did. I think they made some good moves, improved the team, bringing back Crosby and re-sign him to a hefty deal. I think there's still some more that could be done to make that team better, and I don't think they are done. They want to have a better season. Do I think they're a playoff team? No, I don't know, but I think they're going to be more competitive. I think what they did was a step in the right direction. So thumbs up to the Raiders. I think they had a good free agency to this point.
If you hear purring in the background, my cat is literally sitting directly beside the microphone. So
love it.
That's who I've been wrestling on the side of the screen here. Honestly, the cliche answer would be the winners are the players getting paid all this cash. But I think the Bills, and not a ton of crazy moves. Just re-signing some guys that are clutch. Obviously the quarterback. But Joey Bosa, that's a huge move for a Bills team that was already pretty good. You know,
I like that. Good example.
I think they could use some wide receiver help. They do have to re-sign Cook still. There has to something has to happen there before it gets to holdout territory. Because that's a thing that guys do now. But I honestly think that the Bills, they subtracted Von Miller and added Joey Bosa, and I think it's this, you get the same kind of impact player, but younger, cheaper, and
Be a
hungry.
bit more impactful, I think. More hungry, exactly.
He doesn't have a Super Bowl. A lot of hard years on the Chargers. I mean, he was drafted by the San Diego Chargers, had to move to LA.
Yep.
So, and the team cuts him. So there's got to be a bit of a chip on the shoulder there. So good on the Bills for getting a guy like that. And it's. I feel like the Bills is a great environment to go into. So good on them all.
Agree. Any losers?
I want to say Minnesota a little bit for losing that quarterback stability. But I think they got the quarterback of the future there, and they're just he's healthy now. Let's roll and see what happens. I mean, he's got all the weapons there. We saw it work last year for Sam Darnold, and got him paid $100 million. So
I'm sure he's just licking his chops right now. If he can do do 3/4 of what Sam Darnold did to get that paycheck, he won't have to work again of his life, even if his NFL career doesn't work.
But if it doesn't work, I mean, Minnesota looks silly. They go from playoff team to
bust.
Yeah.
Interesting to see what happens in the NFL this season, Justin. It's been great talking football with you, man. WWE for 10 minutes, NFL free agency for 25-ish minutes, little recap, little connection for us, full scale recap from top to bottom with all the teams, giving you our reaction and updates to what have happened. Let us know what you think below. Justin, what a time to be alive. You know, we're talking in the pocket a little bit earlier than usual. Usually we wait to do a draft and free agency recap at that point. But you know what? NFL season, it's been hot. We need to talk about it. And, you know, it just feels like yesterday watching Kendrick Lamar do his halftime show, which I still see TikToks about it.
Yeah, that's going to be.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
everyone knows what I'm talking about. It is. It is. Justin, I want to say thank you, my friend, for taking the time. We'll be seeing you back again soon. You know, we're going to be having NHL playoffs around the corner, have you involved in that. Going to jump onto more NFL news, WWE news, WrestleMania preview show. Lots to talk about, definitely, and very excited for that. So thank you, my friend, for taking the time here tonight.
Oh, yeah, always. No problem. Love talking football. Love talking sports. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have to touch base on one of the hockey shows because I got a weird theory that Austin Matthews' back is fucked. So we'll dabble in that before the playoffs.
Is it because he's trying to carry the team? Is that what we're saying?
No, I'm just watch tomorrow night. His breakout speed is fucked. He's hammering Frescas on the bench.
Yeah, Frescas. I was like, what the hell is he drinking?
That's gross. They're not good. Not a fan. I mean, might be an unpopular opinion with the crowd here, but it's gross.
Yeah, not a fan. Not a fan. Again, thank you to Justin. Lots of things to come up here on the Game Sports Podcast. A lot of coverage, a lot of content. It's been an extra. It's been an extended version for you today. You've been treated to an extended cut for all the segments, mostly the final two, but you've had the extended cut of the show. Make sure you comment below. All these episodes take time, effort, and not only that, we love doing it. We've been doing it here on the Game Sports Podcast since 2016. The Game Sports show started 2015. So it bled over to Sault Ste. Marie and Sault Mission in 2016. Now it's obviously stationed just within Sault, Ontario. So we've been doing it since beginning of 2016, essentially. So we've been around for a long time. We're hitting almost our decade, which is very exciting. We'll have to do something for that. The Game Sports Podcast has been around a long time. And for all those who have been involved in part of this journey, we're excited to have you along further. And everyone who's new, make sure you hit follow, and subscribe on YouTube. That's 91 Network. The Game Sports Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. If you're on Spotify, Apple, wherever you are, just that simple that heart, that thumbs up, 5 stars, subscription. Tune in the future or not, that whatever way you want to do it, we'll bring you wholesome and real content. But overall, we appreciate your support. So don't hesitate to do that and comment below on what you think of it. I want to say thanks to Brendan McCarthy, to Alex Parr for Top Shelf segment today, to Jordan Trudeau and Dustin Grondin, special guest host tonight on Chuck a Puck segment, and of course to Justin for In the Pocket. Feels good to say Dustin Grondin. It's been a long time since 2018. Been able to say that on the show. We hope you enjoyed tonight's episode.
Vintage.
It literally feels like a reunion show that we just had. We're just missing a few pieces, especially for In the Pocket. We're missing a couple pieces of the vintage edition. Matt Primo and Jamie Antonello, just to name a couple. Again, thank you, Justin, for the time. Hopefully everyone's enjoyed their March break, and we'll be back here next week for another edition of the Game Sports Podcast. So make sure you keep tabs and an eye on that. I'm here to remind you, keep your stick on the ice, ring your bats, catch touchdowns, drain your threes, and shoot your shots. Booyah.